female entrepreneurs turned besties share on life, business, and the journey through the mess. Join their community with every new episode for connection, education, a few laughs, and the hype energy like a bathroom full of drunk girls at a bar. It's okay.
We're your friends now!
Holy mackerel. Welcome back, guys. It's been, I don't even know how many months. If I had to guess, we've missed 12 episodes.
I don't even want to count, truly.
I don't know how many we've missed, but I know we've seen each other. And we've even recorded twice and not released anything in a
we learned a great lesson this year, and that is that we all get really busy over the summer between work, kids, vacations, work trips, just life in general. I'm trying to think back to the last episode we must have had, and I honestly think it was probably one where I was really down and being like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do in my life. And man, this summer has been a 180 for all of that. So I'm super excited to talk to everybody about what has been going on. I think we have tons of updates to give, and I don't know, man. We're just gonna have to dive into it and just this. I
have to say, first of all, though, I think there's a little bit of a lesson in this that like we set our first goal of like 21 episodes and we're like, get out of our way. Like we put up those fuck you blinders real big on like what we're doing. And then we're like, okay, now what? And we're like, I don't know. Let's just keep going. We did not stop and like have and like build a plan. And it's kind of wild because we're honestly coming up close to a year of when we started doing this that I think we kind of need a plan for. So lesson number 1 we learned this summer is to plan for summer breaks.
Yeah, maybe like take a season break or like just reduce episodes. I don't know what we'll try in the future. We'll try something other than this summer. We tried nothing. We just every week we're like, shoot, I can't record.
So we're
basically
sorry.
How our entire summer on a Tuesday went.
There was a period there 32 days that I was only home for. So like it was like as long as I'm not at the airport, I can do this.
In the middle of that, Biz, though, there was one Tuesday you were home and we thought you were out of town. So Ashleigh and I scheduled a meeting for something else. And then we get a text from Biz, are we recording today? I'm ready. And we were like, oh.
Yeah. What?
Tell me that. Oh my God.
Yeah. And it's interesting, Biz, you're so right. We totally we're laser focused on that first goal, and then we talked about we should come up with a second goal, and I think we pitter-pattered around it, but we never I don't know, because I'm not a podcaster in the sense of this is all I do, and so I feel kind of adjacent to the podcast world, you know what I mean? If you put me in a room full of full-time podcasters, I don't think I could have a conversation with them because I don't feel like I'm in that world. So I don't even know. I'm like, man, I don't even know me.
Yeah, I had a couple of people reach out to me recently about how did you get started? What did you do? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, here's the mic I bought and here's a link to StreamYard. Also, here's where we upload our episodes. Get a friend who can make a logo. Best of luck. Yeah. That's
yeah.
But I agree. It's we had, and that's such a good point, Biz, that we had that first goal and we were 21, that's so awesome. And we were we probably moved things more because we had that in our mind and we wanted to hit it. And then we talked about setting another goal. And then it's just, for whatever reason, Tuesdays became the hot day for there to be something going on. And we were well, and then it became comical of I guess we went on summer break, unintentionally, unplanned, but we're back.
Man, it was hard. But I mean, personally, I had a summer of ups and downs. I don't know about you guys. I had some
Yeah.
great things and some less than stellar things, and we're going to talk about all of it. Katie, what's like your summer highlight?
Oh my gosh. Wait, before I say this, I also want to like be clear since the whole thing is where your friends out. Like, we still continue to talk and be friends. We
Oh,
just
yeah.
didn't record our conversations. It's not like we haven't seen each other in 3 months. We've actually seen each other. Man, so true to form, I'm probably not gonna do one and do like three that are kind of short. Um, got a lot of really good quality, like, outside time with Connor, and just as he continues to get older, it's so fun to see, like, what he's interested in and his excitement over things, and we just got some really good family time. And he loves to swim and I love to swim, and so, like, the 3 of us hanging out in the pool all the time was just, like, really man, I would do anything to put a smile on that kid's face, and in the summer, it's even easier. Um, so that's definitely a big one. Um, I know, like, on the last one we recorded or near to the last one we recorded, I kind of hinted about being involved with, KW Next Gen, but I am, and, that's really exciting. It's been really fun. I've gotten the opportunity to go to Austin a few times for events that we've done that are super impactful, and being able to, like, really help bring forward a change has been such a really great highlight for me, and, like, going and, like, doing working and then immediately seeing, like, some of the like, the evidence of the work that you do, you know, and we had some really cool student stories that came out of that, so that was really fun. And then an unexpected new venture, that was presented that has brought into my life a really, really, fun and rewarding output for some work things, and also just, like, a really incredible group of people to team with, I would say. Also also another one. Okay, there's my I don't know that I have one, but there you go.
That's lovely. I'm so excited to hear it. What you've done with Next Gen and like seeing the passion that you have for the kids that have benefited from it and for the fundraising has been
Yeah.
really cool to see.
Thanks.
What about you
We're
guys?
gonna
I had a crazy
You had a
busy
crazy summer.
summer, and
Yeah.
I feel like I also know your work has been insane.
Yeah, it's really weird, man. Like I yeah, no, okay, so let's see what I did. I did a lot of traveling. I had the largest like month of my entire career in May, and then my second largest month of my entire career in July,
Okay.
with a really skinny June, and then like now a skinny August here and here and all of this stuff. So like the way that it's going, but it's been really cool is how it's been playing out, because this summer I leaned hard into like life by design and kind of fucking whatever it's supposed to look like, and just doing what awesome opportunities me and my family have in front of us. And you know, the main thing being that I can work from anywhere and do anything from anywhere. And so I said earlier I was gone 32 days, but my family was with me 18 of those days.
That's so cool.
And so yeah, and so that is like only possible because of my awesome friends in different places that opened up their homes for us too. But in that time, we got to take like day trips to like Legoland in Florida for a night, which was really cool because, you know, people have been telling me, you know, y'all know how important my relationship with my daughter is, and how it's not always the quantity of time, it's the quality of time. And so during these bits of travel, it's allowed a lot of really intentional time, because we've been outside of our natural element, right? Plus like additional fun sprinkled in. So we got to go to Legoland, and we went to the beach, and then I got to have a spontaneous 24-hour date with Jonathan in DC, which was like
Nice.
not even on the agenda. And so that was just like a really cool, almost like bucket list opportunity to get to check off. So just to be able to do that, you know what I mean? Like, it was just awesome. So like, it's been great, but honestly, I miss New Orleans some, even in all of its swampy heat. So it's good. Yeah, it's good to be home. And I have a lot. I'm sure we'll talk about it all in future episodes more, but really like leaning in, and I tend to go like balls to the wall whenever I'm testing a theory on something. And so I definitely don't think I want to travel that much again for that long. Yeah, but carpe diem kind of thing.
Yeah. I always feel like if I hit day 12 of traveling, I'm always on that day like, I wish I was going home today. About 12 days is my max.
Yeah, it was broken up. The longest stint was 10 days of being a place. So it was good. It was, and we broke that up into 2 trips. So yeah, but learning wise, I really have just poured into kind of Ashleigh, like what you were talking about, where you left off kind of like in a funk, suspense of transition cliffhanger. I was really like hardcore into this like energy exchange, like being really mindful of stuff. And I've really continued through that. And I think I'm recognizing the too far boundary much sooner than what I've done in the past. And it's really, I'm loving this journey. Like, I'm loving the journey that I'm on.
That's so good.
So it is. I'm in a really good spot. Yeah.
I really want to do like an episode to hear, because I want to hear more about that. Like, I know we have other things to talk about, but like, I would love to do an episode kind of talking about that and your journey and lessons through it, but also like what you're talking about with the boundaries and stuff, because that's really fascinating. And I love that you leaned even harder into it.
Yeah, it's interesting. The only way you know if something's going to work or not is if you try it. And that's
amen.
Yeah. And so that was kind of one of those things, when I talked about being in Belize, like when I came back from that trip, she was like, stop apologizing for working. You like working, you like being in paradise, do both. And so I just kind of leaned into that hardcore.
Good.
Yeah. That's awesome.
All right.
What about you, Ashleigh?
Honestly, this summer was a weird one for me. I would say my 2 highlights are that I got to do a lot of the main summer things that I try to do with the kids every year. So like, we always go to this one community pool that opens up, and we bring lunch in a cooler and we hang out. And it's been so fun because every year we've gone, it's been so different. The first time I ever took him, Ezra just like sat in a lounge chair and like refused to touch the water. He was terrified of it. He didn't like it. And Cassie just wanted to do the lazy river. And then, the next year he got in the pool too. And we just did the lazy river, 50 times. And now Ezra will run up and do the water slides by himself, like these big old water slides. And so it's really, really cool to see that progression for them as they grow. And especially when you're just in the same place, like it really shows you, because we only go once in the summer every year.
Ooh.
So it's
that's a good comparison year over year.
Yeah, so it's really, really cool. And we are able to sit in the same spot every year, and it's just, and it's not expensive. So I'm not like, I feel like over the summer I get really weird about like, if something costs a lot, I'm more stressed about making sure everybody enjoys it. We get our money's worth out of it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm always like, okay, this costs $400. Is everybody going to get $400 worth of fun out of it? And if not, I don't want to do it. So I'm like, that's my whole summer is analyzing that. And this is just a little rec center. So it's like $5, to go. And it's like the most fun we have. So it's just really fun. And yeah, really, really nice. So just doing those little things like that. And then like Katie hinted at, a work opportunity that came up that kind of fits so perfectly with what I've been putting down and journaling about and like what I want to do. So I'm super, super excited. And not only that, but I'm in the driver's seat of my role. So I really get to design it. And then I get to work with like Katie mentioned, the group of people. I know Katie, obviously, we're both in this, but all the other people I really didn't know at all before this. And they are wonderful and very kind and very smart. And I'm like, so once again, just blown away. I'm like, why am I in this room with everybody? Thank you.
Let me also say, like,
Are you standing in the
before you-
bathroom looking in the mirror?
let me say that, like, several months ago, like way earlier this year, Ashleigh and I got this wild hair about, like, okay, we're just gonna, like, figure out exactly what we want to do, and either, I don't know, whatever. And so I was like, write out your ideal job description. Like, ideal, what would you want to do? And she took some time and like sat down and wrote it out and sent it over so that I could see like kind of where her head was. And she straight manifested this because like legit like what she's doing. And like she said, she got to kind of design her role a lot, but she just basically got to say, like, I want to do this. This is where you could utilize me the most. And now it's so cool to watch her just like be in her genius. Like, it's such a gift to me.
Oh, thanks.
Woo!
Woo! So yeah. And it's funny when you like wrap it all up with like a little bow like this. It sounds like, oh, you know, so quick and simple and easy. And this has been, I mean, it's literally been months of kind of like talking about it, talking to the person who's working on the business and deciding, one, is it a good fit? Two, is it actually happening? Like when it was really getting started, I kept texting Katie. I was like, I'm scared to like count on this happening. It doesn't feel real. So it's been months of just like, we're just barely starting to announce what's going on. And I'm like ready to just change my LinkedIn and put it everywhere. And I'm like, not yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I will say, aside from all the fun parts of summer, there have been a lot of learning opportunities for me. Starting with this summer did not kick off the way I wanted it to. My sister had a baby earlier this year and I was really hoping to go visit. And then Cassie came back from her grandparents with a chest infection, which obviously is a no-go to go visit babies. But that chest infection turned into pneumonia for a lot of people in the family. Luckily, every time I got my x-rays done, I didn't have pneumonia, but I still at night laying down, my chest crackles.
Jeez.
It's been brutality. I mean, since about late May, this has been going on. So that has been a huge obstacle for me in the patience and taking care of yourself. And how, I mean, I was texting both of you guys about how frustrated I was. Like, my body is not doing what I want it to do. I'm tired. I'm worn out. Like, it's hurting. I'm just so mad at it.
Yeah.
So that was, you get the flu, you get the stomach flu, whatever, it really knocks you down, but you can start coming back relatively quickly. And I was really like, couldn't even take my dog for a walk without my legs feeling like jello because of how little I had been able to move. It was horrendous.
You were down and out for a while before you felt even remotely close to yourself.
Yeah. And you know, what's crazy is that we had this meeting in Austin, Texas with some people, and I was just on the tail end of recovering. So I felt pretty good. The doctors had cleared me in terms of fear of being contagious or whatever, but I still had this atrocious cough. And I was on my flight back home late at night and my chest is just like hurting. And I'm like, it's fine. Like, I'm just sore from like, you know, being up and talking and all this stuff. And then I'm trying to walk to my car and my chest, the Denver airport, if you don't know it, it's really large. It's a lot of walking. I can't find my car. Cannot remember where it is. So I'm going up and down stairs and all this. I'm walking around with this heavy backpack and my chest starts hurting so badly that I'm like, I might be having a heart attack right now. I'm not sure what. It was so bad. I got in my car and like just froze and couldn't move. And I was like, I'm not 100% sure I can even drive right now. I just sit there for a couple minutes and I could only drive with my right hand. I got home and I was like, I'm not waking up tomorrow. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me, but like, this is the end, I guess. And luckily it got a lot better with rest. So it really was just aggravated
overwork
from basically nothing. I mean, you know, So yeah, that was the large majority of my summer was spent doing that. And that was a lot of the cancellations in the early months. Like you guys were available and I was like, I can't talk. I can't sit up. I
Yeah.
need to go take a nap. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's why I spent a lot of my summer.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Sick.
Which is the worst because now I'm like, the kids just went back to school. So I'm like,
Oh,
we're
and you feel good.
I'm gonna be so mad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah. What about you guys? Do you guys have any big like learning opportunities? Biz, you kind of hinted at it some with like your family and your energy exchanges and traveling, not traveling too much anymore.
I mean, I like honestly had a moment where I think I flew close to the sun, got my wings burned a little bit. That was
Mhm.
humbling. And I learned how I'm going to show up differently, both in a way of like to protect myself, which I think is like kind of a huge win and growth because of better learning how to lead with the vulnerability that I do that is less self-destructive. So I feel like I learned a big lesson through that there. And it was just an important thing to do. So it was painful. Took 2 therapy sessions to work through. So but again, like, all you can do is just keep showing up and keep pushing forward, trusting that it'll work out with it. So yeah, that was kind of, I guess, the hardest lesson.
That's great though. I mean, it's such a testament to like you just keep putting one foot in front of the other and you can't perfectly prevent anything going wrong ever. But if you just keep pushing through and going forward, like you come out on the other side. You do.
Yeah. And it was really cool because Jonathan was there with me. When I was experiencing it, and I've never had him there in those moments. And so like, Katie, that's interesting. It actually made me think about you and Brett, like how y'all are, like you get to go home to each other essentially, at the end of the day. And that was really, like I said, it was just all new experience all the way around. Yeah. Which is good.
Yeah.
Yay, marriage.
Yay.
Yay. Yay, marriage.
Yay, friends who support marriages.
Oh, big one on that. Yeah.
As
And
as people who've been divorced, we're huge proponents of marriage.
Yeah.
And
big fan.
Big fan on my second one.
Well, the other thing is going back to some of these trips, we got to spend time with like other women who are like the primary breadwinners, if you will, for the income earners. I hate the phrase breadwinner. I'm gonna start saying that, the primary income earner.
I
for their house, or like, or like, the head, the CEO of their companies, and their husbands are in supportive roles. And it was really cool for Jonathan to like meet other men. And it was really cool for me, for him to see other, dynamics and how that works. And like us, like, and then we were in their space. Right. And so like, it was just a very like beautiful thing. And then at the same time, like able to provide camaraderie there. And so like my circle just got bigger in a way, and it like kind of matured, if you will, through it. And so like it is, but it is very different. It's been a lot to kind of sit with. Like I said, it's beautiful. It was really cool.
That's cool. That's really cool. Probably really helpful for him to see something similar, since that's not always what is like the loudest or most common dynamic. So I would imagine as a man, there's like a lot of comfort and solidarity and finding other people who are also incredible people sitting in that role, and like not feeling, I think it would be natural for a man to like, a lot of guys struggle with feeling a certain way if they aren't like the top earner or whatever in their household. So probably very helpful for him to see other like thriving relationships where like it's celebrated that they're both sitting in the seats they're in, and not feel like an anomaly.
Interesting. The feeling how like we had like when we went to the HBL event, right? And you walk into the room and it's a little intimidating. And then at the same time, there's like the instant like, oh, I get it, you're on my level kind of
Yeah.
thing. It was like that's more of what I would equate it to than that, because I get asked that a lot by people, and like he's very secure and and how we are with it. And so, but it's interesting because it's almost like that's a like you're right, it's like a stigma that people like expect you to have. And so like whenever you like meet someone else that actually is in that role, and then it like is not even present to the point at all that it's even thought of in the room, how comforting that is.
Yep.
And that's what I, so like, yes, you're absolutely right. Like,
there's
I love
no need
that.
for, like explanation or justification. It's just like it's almost expected, and he can just like
and it was cool to see, because like it's cool to see because like ultimately just like this job that you guys, like manifesting, right? Like you take your powers and your strengths and your things like that, and you apply them to another energy kind of thing. And so it was really cool, like learning about, what they had done in their previous, careers, and then how they step in and apply their skill sets to like the family unit as a whole. And like some of that like is business. And some of that is business. And so it is. And it's like opened up this conversation like more. And that's really like, honestly, like I was hoping, fingers crossed, that would kind of happen. So, so yeah, it's good.
Well, now that we are updated on what on earth everybody's been doing this summer.
Wait, can I share my lessons?
Oh yeah, sorry.
I sat so patiently.
I just pictured you didn't have any lessons because you already are so amazing. So.
Oh, thank you. Stop, don't stop. I'm just kidding. No, I had a lot of lessons. The biggest one I'm still kind of like working through right now, and I feel like it's going to tie into what you're going to dive into, Ashleigh. So I have historically been not great about death, and not in the way of like I can't handle it. I was faced with my own mortality when I was 15 years old, and so this sounds really insensitive, but to me, death has always been like a part of life, not in the way that like I don't care when people die, but like I had to come to like I was told I had 6 months to live, and I had to come to terms with that and come to peace with that, and like it just changed my perspective. Not even consciously, I don't think. Like I don't know, it just makes my whole life it's just been very like since then it's been very I recognize that it's sad and that people are sad and stuff, and it has not been like a huge prevalent thing for me. Starting okay, I'm gonna try and do this without crying. Starting I think 2 weeks ago, within the span of 10 days, I had 5 people close to me lose either a family member, a spouse, a close friend, or a child. And I also found out that one of the biggest mentors in my life does not have long to live. And I did not handle it well. And I found out very quickly that now at the age of 36, death does actually affect me very strongly. And I struggled with this feeling of feeling really selfish because in that moment, like I wasn't necessarily the one who lost someone, right? It was like the people close to me, but it brought this really big it was terrible. Like it was very sad, but also just very like it sent me into this spiral. And I mean, I was texting Brett like every 2 seconds to please wrap him and Connor and bubble wrap and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And where this is going is the lesson that I learned from this pretty quickly, because I couldn't figure out like what changed that made it like, am I just more aware of humanity, or like how do I feel or whatever. I have worked so very hard on myself and the people that I surround myself with, and the way that I love and the way that I allow myself to be loved, that I've never had uh, such intense love and enjoyment from the people in my life as I do now. And that now, like if somebody close to me was lost, it would actually feel like a loss and not just the conclusion of a person's life. And so to anybody, if I've ever seemed insensitive about a loss that you had, I'm very sorry. I just didn't understand. But it's a really hard lesson. There were a lot of people that were young that were lost, and I still am not functioning very well about my mentor. And big props to Biz. I know we all joke about the time that I came and found her in the bathroom and she called me her real friend. Well, we were at an event and she dragged me into the bathroom, into quote unquote her office, and just let me like sob into her. But the lesson is also surrounded with a lot of gratitude, because wow, what a fortunate person am I to have people in my life that I really, really don't want to lose.
Yeah.
And at the same time, like, my heart is broken for all the people who have, one of whom is on this screen. And so not to like turn that around as like something about me, because I know that Ashleigh, the past couple of weeks have just been torture for you, but that truly was my biggest lesson of the summer, is just all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Today, we wanted to talk about grief on our podcast. We've never really touched this subject, despite that it has touched all of us in some way, shape, or form. And it's so interesting because it is probably the most core, common human emotion that will touch every human being at some point. And there's obviously different levels of it, like there's your great aunt that you knew as a child but didn't really have a close relationship with, and you still feel grief when that person is gone. And then there's levels where you feel grief for the people that are grieving and your friends and all of these things. But there's just no human that leaves Earth without having been touched by it. And it's beautiful and tragic and awful and everything all at once. And the beauty that comes out of grief has been that gratitude and the love and support of the people that you have. So this past, 2 weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago today. 2 weeks ago today, my brother-in-law passed away very unexpectedly. He was in his mid-40s, and it was very, very unexpected. And it's been so difficult to go through it. I had my bags packed to leave to Austin first thing in the morning for a conference, and we got the call late at night. And my husband was just shattered, and it was just, your whole life flips upside down so quickly. And it's almost like you hit this pause button on everything. And so the past week or so has been slowly starting to return to normal, quote unquote. And this is the closest to intense grief I've been in my life. And I was so fortunate to have so many friends and family that care and were there for me. And it's one of those things that it's just like, why do I feel so alone when I'm not at all? And why do I feel like everything I'm doing is wrong? Everything I'm feeling is wrong. So I thought like it would be great to touch on this, one, because it's just where I am right now, is being in this weird place of grief. And two, because if you're ever somebody that's struggling with it, and it doesn't even need to be like you're going through it now, sometimes you're just going through it because it's an anniversary, or it's the first time you've done something without that person, whatever reminds you of it. And so just something to give us a place to talk about it and to talk about our own experiences, so that people can know that they're not alone. Biz was a huge, Katie was too. But I called Biz and just talked to her because I was so lost I was sitting there grieving myself, but sitting with the mom and the dad and the brother and the sister. And I called Biz, I was like, I don't know what to do. And she gave me so many great little things of like, okay, if I can just focus on these things, it's going to help me, because I didn't want to put my grieving above theirs, which is a weird way to say, at a certain point, you're like, okay, somebody has to make sure everybody else is eating. So I'm going to go focus on that. And so Biz, you were truly, thank you so much. And Katie, thank you so much. You did not fail me. I never felt like you had disappointed me in your support, even though you're at a conference and busy and dealing with all those other things. I never felt how you feared that some people might have felt. So truly, thank you both. And I don't know that we have like a huge, I don't
You're
have
welcome. Let us say you're welcome. You're welcome. That's what friends are for. I'm going to say it for Katie again because she's crying.
Biz
welcome,
was
friend.
such a lifeline that whole time. Like, we were at the conference together and I was doing work stuff and Biz was like, I'm gonna go call Ashleigh. I was like, okay, good. And so like she's like on the phone with Ashleigh giving like, and Biz, you're so good at the tactical and practical. So like, Ashleigh, what a killer person to call. Like, that's so like, Biz, you just feel, and you've been there. So like, you understand without explanation. But like, man, how genius, because Biz, you are so good at like, we'll do this, here's an action. But Biz went from like, she's like constantly making sure that she's checking on Ashleigh, A, to make sure she's okay, and B, to make sure she feels loved. And then like walks in legitimately the first time we saw each other that entire conference, and I'm sobbing. And Biz spent that whole week just being a lifeline for us. But Ashleigh, I think,
Katie, I love you that you like recognize that, because it was also like in my grief season, because my dad's death anniversary was yesterday. And so like I was in my 2 weeks of suck. And so it's exactly like you said. It was just like one whammy after a freaking another with it. But I kept like, I was like, now is not the time. Like, this is the reason why you go through things, is so you can be a lighthouse to those that come after you, right? And so I never said it, and I really was trying. I was struggling, Katie, in that moment. But it means a lot to me to know that it accomplished, check the box. So like, what? So thank you for that. Thank you for coming to me. It made me feel special that you that you love me like that. I love you. Happy to be there. So maybe some of those tactical and practical things may be kind of a lighter thing to list now.
I don't, it's funny because it probably depends on your religion and your practices. I know like people of Jewish faith have very specific practices with grief where they cover mirrors, and there's things that maybe are very different and specific. And if you are like how I've been, I personally was somebody that was like so awkward around like just the idea of somebody grieving terrified me, because I was like, I don't know how to act. Pat, pat, pat. I'm an empathetic crier. So it really probably doesn't matter why you cry. I'm going to cry too. And then I feel bad. And I don't know if it's okay to cry and all the things. And so having a few ways of like, having just gone through it and seen my husband's family go through it, and what I saw be the most beneficial, and then Biz, what your experience is too. I think it's just helpful to know, because even if you're not grieving, you just want to help support. It's hard to know what is right and what's like. I heard several people say, like, is that overstepping? And like, so it's just funny that we're so awkward about this. Like,
Yeah.
it's so normal and it's such a shared experience, and we all feel at some point or another awkward about it. So, I mean, Biz, I don't want to share what you shared with me on your behalf because they were very helpful, but also if you aren't sure what you said.
Oh no, I got it, man. It's like a freaking checklist that I go through
It
now.
has a playbook.
I do. I have a playbook at this point. So I'm telling you. Well, it's like I think about it like Diana Kokoska, right? Like she's got like the things, like it's like muscle memory, and
Yeah.
yeah. So one, sympathy cards. Sympathy cards are always a good idea, because you end up doing this weird thing whenever somebody comes up to comfort you, that you end up comforting the other person. Like like Ashleigh, I'm so sorry for your loss. And then Ashleigh's like, that's okay. It's fine. Thank you. Because that's like what Ashleigh's talking about. Nobody knows how to just sit in the suck with people. So sympathy cards eliminate that awkward social moment that happens, and it relieves the grieving person from the obligation to respond in that moment in a certain way, and it gives them the opportunity to visit and revisit that person's condolences in their time. And it's like very difficult when you are feeling like shit to hear what somebody who loves you is saying to you and receive it. So sympathy cards, number one. Number two, do not ask, what can I do to help? Fuck you, motherfucker. I don't even know what I'm doing. Sorry, Ashleigh, you had a really great explicative there. I didn't mean to steal that thunder from you.
No, I am like, yes, the worst question to ask.
What can I do to help? Let me know if there's anything I can help. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me tell you why that sucks. That sucks because then you put the burden on the person who's grieving to know what they need help with. Do you know they probably hadn't... The only reason I go in the bathroom is because their body makes them. Okay, like in those moments, they don't know what needs to be done, So no. So what you do instead is you say, "Can I do this?"
Yes.
And so what I told Ashleigh to do as a secondary griever, if you will, is to look for opportunities to make a list of things that people can do. So she could be the point person of when people ask that question, give them their name to Ashleigh. Ashleigh's got this list. Oh, you want to do anything? Come clean this cat litter box. Okay. Come scoop this poop. That would be really helpful. Thank you. And you get to find out who your real people are. Right. So don't ask that. Sympathy cards. Don't ask, what can I do to help? Or is there anything that I can do to help? And 3, food, just always food. Because the thing is with the fridge, you know how many times when you're sad and you're depressed and crap, and you just go open it and you just stare at it, eventually something will look good enough to put in your mouth. And so always food. Those are my 3 things.
Yeah. And I mean, I was so blessed to watch her advice play out in real time because I think I called you maybe 2 days after it happened. Biz and I sat on the phone. And so basically first 2 days, everybody's just crying together. That's it. It's like Biz says, you're just sitting in the suck with people. And that was a huge lesson for me because I am definitely somebody that's like, I want to fix it. I want to change it. How can I make this better? And in those moments, you just know there's nothing. And so it is just sit in the suck. It just sucks. And that's it.
That's all I could say when my dad died. I was like, this sucks.
Yeah.
This sucks.
And
This
for
sucks.
people, like, don't be afraid to say that either. Like, it's refreshing to have people be willing to acknowledge and not be all, especially in the first little bit where it's all like, oh, but things are, that's supposed, and it's, and whatever, and it's going to be better. And it's like, nope, right now, it sucks. And that's it. And so I talked to Biz when everything was so fresh and they hadn't, like, nobody had eaten for 48 hours. And my husband hadn't been sleeping. So we came home. They live like an hour and a half away from us. So we came home for one night so that he could sleep. He goes back the next day, first thing in the morning. And I'm sitting at home and I'm like, I got Biz's little checklist of things that I'm going to start doing. So I immediately went to the grocery. I put in a big pickup order. I got a whole bunch of
Shade's like, is this going to be potatoes?
Yeah, I made potato soup because I was like, what's going to be like easy to eat? Because I think it might have been you. I also looked it up on Reddit, but somebody had said that soup can be easy because you don't have to chew. You can just sip. So you're getting nutrition without having like the work of eating.
You're so thoughtful, Ashleigh. I was like, your family is so blessed to have you.
No.
I just got to know, like, your whole spirit being was like pouring through in that call. And I'm just reminded of it as you're recanting it or recalling it now. It's just,
well, and it's like the coming together of like your network and your friends and like how that all comes together, because I was able to be so helpful to them because of you. And like the first thing that they ate in 48 hours were the muffins that I brought up.
Yay! I need your banana bread recipe, by the way.
Oh, I'm gonna make some right now. I'll send it to you.
I'm keeping to ask you.
And it's funny because I didn't ask them. Biz had mentioned, don't ask, can I help? Can I bring food? Like, it's just, it puts the burden on them. And so I didn't ask. I didn't even tell my husband I was doing it. I just showed up with bundles and bundles of food. And I just said, this is what I have. And they're like, you didn't need to do that. And I'm like, I don't care. That's not, we're past that. And this is just what I'm doing now. And that really shifted my language for the rest of the week. They had a list that they had started before everything happened on their counter of items that they needed, like trash bags and cat food. I just grabbed it. I said, I'm going to the Walmart and I'm going to get some stuff. And they'd be, oh, you don't have, I didn't say, can I? I said, I am going. It's too late. I'm going to go buy this stuff right now.
That's where I will be.
Yeah. I also just want to make mention that part of the conversation around that point was also be mindful of those opportunities for people to get fresh air from the room. So don't suck up all the opportunities to leave the space to be helpful. And if there are kids involved, be mindful of them too, that they may need some fresh air. And so a Walmart run may be the sound like Disney World.
Yep. The kids, absolutely. And we're very fortunate with like one of the kids already has a driver's license. And so they're, but it is a great point, Biz, because
just blanket statement.
You had mentioned mowing the lawn or getting somebody to. And so I asked my husband, I said, do you want me to find somebody to mow the lawn for your dad? Or do you want me to go grab the mower? I don't know where they keep stuff. And he said, I thought about that too, but I asked him and he said he was saving it to do for later. So he had a reason to be outside alone. So it is interesting because there is a counterbalance of don't take up every opportunity. And that's why I think focusing on food and like drinks is so good. Like I just kept bringing more soda because people are coming to visit too. And so they would, offer them a beverage and so stuff was just going. So I just almost every day I went to the store just to grab some sodas and like, oh, we just happen to need this thing. Then great. If not, I just brought drinks. So it doesn't even have to be food if you're not sure. Like, oh, I don't know if people will eat or if they have too much or whatever.
Paper towels, man.
It helped. And I will say, I think what was the craziest, because as the secondary griever, like the stuff coming in was not for me. But it was watching them receive sympathy cards and gifts and flowers. And at one point, somebody that they did not know that well sent them a whole, like 4 boxes from Honey Baked Ham
Whoa.
And it was just like that question you might ask yourself of like, oh, we're not very close. Like, is it appropriate for me to? Yeah. It almost means more.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. No, totally. I mean, like I said, that's the time to do it because there's no strings attached either to that. Like it just showed up, right? Like, and that's the right way to do it, man. Right way to do it.
If you're somebody that's like, oh, I'm scared I'm gonna be awkward or say the wrong thing, then just send something. It does not mean less.
Also, the other thing too, those 3 things I said, I think supersede all. I think those are just the pure human things. The next item that's slightly out of orbit that I recommend to like 95% of people is to send memories with that person to their inner circle, because part of the reality of death is that it is final, right? And like there are all secrets that we take to the grave, and like that time has literally come. And I will tell you that with my dad, I also have 2 practical things in that regard. But with my dad, the coolest thing that we did, he was cremated, but before he was cremated, we had like a private family viewing, and it was just my mom, his siblings, and like a couple of my in-law siblings of my dad, my aunts, and they sat and like basically spilled all of these beans collectively about my dad. And I got to like just kind of like what you're talking about, Ashleigh, like just be almost like a secondary griever in the room of, my dad's life before I was even a thought. And it was just like so beautiful and so healing in that. And then, people ask for that all the time, like, share stories. And so like, there really is like nothing, because I think there's this pull to answer questions that you'll never have the answers to again. And like I think that season is very natural in grief that you go through, where like everybody just wants to know everything and like can't get enough. And so like in a sympathy card or in a message or in an email, or again, like I don't even like sending texts, because then you have like the read receipt pressure, right? But like don't hesitate to share when you're comfortable with people about it. And then the other thing that is tangible when it comes to like funeral stuff is when you are sitting there and you get like the stupid funeral. It's not a stupid funeral book. I shouldn't call it that, because it's probably a lovely funeral book, but it sucks at the time. It's stupid when you have it in your hands. But they will take people's fingerprints these days for identity theft. And so there's like a laser engraving possibilities with fingerprints, and you can have a pendant made with the person's fingerprint. And I had 3 made when my dad died. And I'm so grateful, because I've lost 1, and I don't know if I can get another one made. And that gave me so much comfort, especially like the first 2 years or so. I mean, I never took it off. And so y'all know to look for that in the stupid book that you're not going to want to look at because it's stupid at the time. Just go to the back of it. Promise.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because I took the program, going in, and I put it in my purse, and I have not even been able to pull it back out.
Yeah.
It's just
that paper. Yeah.
Oh,
I have like a dozen of them. I just cleaned them out recently, and I was like, what do you do with what do you do with this? Like, you don't.
How?
Yeah.
It is. And that's one of those weird things about like how long-term grief is. Like, you're mentioning that this was just recently your dad's passing anniversary.
7 whole years.
And man, it's forever, and it sucks that it's forever.
Mhm.
That, you know, that's
That
been
was
hard.
like the next wave of it, was that it was like, oh my God, my whole life, like my whole life, rest of my
Yes.
life, I have to live this way. It was kind of like, do y'all remember that moment whenever you realized like COVID wasn't actually going away?
Mm,
Like when you had that moment yourself and you
Yeah.
were like, oh shit, like
Yeah.
this is like changed humanity forever.
Right.
Like that, it's like it was like that type of revelation of like, oh my God, my whole life.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I always give people, sorry, I love when we were talking about this episode of like how we were going to talk about it. And this was like not even like on the list of how this was going to go. I'm
No, it's perfect.
yeah, whatever. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I hope it is. But the other thing is that Maya Angelou poem,
Mhm.
and I could read it without crying because I have read it so many times that like now I truly do like find comfort in it, and it like brings me peace and like grounds me. And so I do want to like at least name it, but I'm also not opposed to reading it if you guys want to end the podcast that way, since it's a little bit of a somber one, like closing bit. So
Yeah.
the two things that how I summarize that feeling is where my mantra, the only way out is through.
Mhm.
I've said before, came from when my dad died is when I learned about that one. The only way out is through. And then when I was in my group grief share, shout out to group grief sharing, like real talk. That is probably the most helpful thing I did for myself, was put myself in a room in a circle looking at other people's eyes and just knowing that they were experiencing what I was experiencing. And like you literally are sitting there and like as they're talking, like you don't share it with anyone else, but you can't help but be like, well, I'm glad I didn't have to do that. Or I mean it's just the
Sorry.
truth. Like you are, but you're like, God damn, like that's terrible. Like, and I'm not gonna list it out, but like you hear some awful things that
Yeah.
people had to experience. But then sometimes you're also like, well, what I experienced, I mean, you can't help it, it's human, right? But then like you see them and you're like, wow, like you were sitting in this suck with me.
Yeah.
And then you hear all of the things that they're doing and how much it still sucks. And so the other thing besides the only way out is through is it's not that there's no wrong way to do it. It's that there's no right way. There literally is just doing it. Like there's no right way. There is no way that you can do that it's gonna feel good and accomplished. Like there is
checked off your to-do
no
list.
way. Like so like don't look for the gold star that you're gonna earn because it literally does not exist. And so like the sooner for me to like kind of come to terms with the fact that like it is forever and there is only, thankfully all of us have had to deal with COVID. That was a badass analogy I just pulled out.
Yeah.
Like really like that. And I've never pulled that together before, but that really is what it's a very similar, like come to terms with it that you gotta get. And you can only get there yourself, So okay, so this poem is by Maya Angelou, who's freaking amazing. And my cousin Jess sent this to me whenever my dad died because it really strikes a chord with me because my dad's death anniversary was yesterday, August 26th. And I'm in southern Louisiana and it's hot as Hades. And I remember standing out in my dad's yard and this cool breeze coming and getting angry at like Mother Nature, at like, who the fuck are you to be changing the seasons right now? Like, are you kidding me? Like, we're not ready for that. Like, what the fuck? Calm down. Like, and it just really overwhelmed me with how much like the earth just keeps spinning and like everything he was going. And so this poem now has really kind of almost become a meditation for me. So When a Great Tree Falls by Maya Angelou. When great trees fall, rocks on distant hills shudder, lions hunker down in tall grasses, and elephants lumber after safety. When great trees fall in forests, small things recoil into silence, their senses eroded beyond fear. When great souls die, the air around us becomes light, rare, sterile. We breathe briefly, our eyes briefly, see with hurtful clarity. Our memory suddenly sharpened, examines, gnaws on kind words unsaid, promised walks never taken. Great souls die, and our reality, bound to them, takes leave of us. Our souls, dependent on their nurture, now shrink, wizened. Our minds, formed and informed by their radiance, fall away. We are not so much maddened as reduced to the unutterable ignorance of dark, cold caves. And when great souls die, after a period, peace blooms, slowly and always irregularly. Spaces fill with a kind of soothing electric vibration. Our senses, restored, never to be the same, whisper to us. They existed. They existed. We can be and be better, for they existed.
Hmm.
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Now, we're your friends now, and thank you for tuning back in after a very long and eventful summer. We love you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Bye. Boop, 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 boop.